Hi friends, so this is going to be our last video on Lycidas. So in the previous videos we saw that Lycidas is a pastoral elegy dedicated to Edward King, who was a poet and a friend of John Milton from the Cambridge. So in the poem we can see that the speaker is a shepherd and he is mourning the death of his fellow shepherd named Lycidas. You can see that even the nature is mourning the death of Lycidas. We could see how the speaker invoked the muses before starting his poem, and we also saw different mythological characters coming over in the poem. So in the previous video we saw how Phoebus reassures the speaker that it is your good deeds that decide your final verdict at the time of your death, and it is not the praises and rumors that spread on earth that decide your final day of judgment. So we also saw the personification of the river Camus, which runs through the Cambridge, and the river was seen to be mourning the death of Edward King. So let's continue with our discussion. Last came and last did go, the pilot of the Galilean lake. 2 messy keys he bore of metals twain, the golden orbs, the iron shuts amain. He shook his mitred locks and stern thus spake. So here comes the last character who comes and talks to the speaker of the poem. The pilot of the Galilean lake. So who's the last character who comes to him? It is the pilot of the Galilean lake. So the pilot of Galilean lake stands for Saint Peter, who was a disciple of Jesus Christ. He is considered as the gatekeeper of heaven. So he carried 2 massive keys with him, one golden and the other iron. The golden one opens the gate of heaven and the iron one closes the gate of heaven. So his locks were mitred, means he was wearing a mitred cap. A mitre is a cap that the popes wear, and he spoke in a stern voice. He spoke to the speaker in a stern voice. So what does St. Peter say? Let's find out. How well could I have spared for thee, young swain, enough of such as for their belly's sake creep and intrude and climb into the fold. St. Peter feels that there are enough means the archaic form of the word enough. We have enough number of corrupt clergymen in the Church of England. So I should have given you one of them to sing about. So which indirectly means I should have saved Edward King from drowning, or Lycidas from drowning. So we can see that the poet is clearly against the corruption in religion and society. So why is this a mention of the clergy and the Church of England in this poem? See, Edward King was a fellow of Christ College, Cambridge. He was planning to enter the ministry of the Church of England. So King, who would have made an uncorrupt clergyman, he encountered an untimely death, which is definitely a loss to the Church of England. In 1645, Milton wrote a preface to Lycidas. So in that preface, he says that the poem is against the corruption in religion and society. So here, St. Peter says the same thing. There are enough people in the Church of England who are busy fattening their bellies, who are just focused on their selfish interests. Let's continue. A farther care they little reckoning make, than have to scramble at the shearer's feast and show away the worthy bidden guest. So St. Peter thinks that these gluttonous or greedy clergy care nothing but amassing wealth or personal gain. They actually chase away people with real merit. They don't think about the real service that the people out there require. They just care about satisfying their selfish motive. Let's have a look at the next 3 lines. Blind mouths, they scarce themselves know how to hold a sheep hook, to have learned aught else the least, that to the faithful herdman's art belongs. See these blind mouths. He calls them blind mouths. Blind mouth is a person who doesn't have control over their eating habit. So they just go on consuming everything out there. So these corrupt clergymen, they don't have an idea of the art of herding. They don't even know the basics of herd, which means they don't know what the church stands for, what are the morals of the church, and how the church is supposed to take care of its devotees. So they are morally frail, says Saint Peter. What recks it them? What need they? They are sped. And when they list their lean and flashy songs, grate on their scrannel pipes of wretched straw. They only care about their personal interests and they are well fed. So they really don't care about the art of herding. They really don't care about what morals the church stands for and have to serve the needy out there. So they play weak songs and they play it on their squeaky pipes. The hungry sheep look up and are not fed, but swollen with wind and rank mist they draw, rot inwardly and foul contagion spread. So the hungry sheep look up and are not fed. Who are these sheep? Again, a metaphor. So here the metaphor of sheep, it stands for the believers. They are not given what they are supposed to get. The devotees go hungry. They are the hungry sheep. They are not fed properly. They are not properly served. And they are infected. They are not properly taken care of and they are going to be dead soon. Besides what the grim wolf with privy paw daily devours apace and nothing said, but that two-handed engine at the door stands ready to smite once and smite no more. So there is this grim wolf, this greedy, cunning wolf waiting to devour, waiting to kill the sheep. So he was an ardent, the writer, the poet Milton was an ardent Protestant. So here wolf stands for the Roman Catholic Church. So the Roman Catholicism is portrayed as a wolf who is ready to devour, who is ready to eat up the devotees. But the corrupt clergymen of the Church of England, they really don't mind it. So they just take away, the wolf just takes away the sheep. But that two-handed engine at the door stands steady to smite once and smite once more. This two-handed engine can mean that one day they are going to face the final judgment. They are definitely going to be punished. So this is what Saint Peter comes and tells the speaker. So till the personification of the river Camus, we saw pastoral imageries. So till the personification of the river Camus, we saw the use of imageries from classical poetry. But with Saint Peter, there came a lot of Christian imageries in the poem. Now we go back to the classical imageries of the pastoral poetry. Return, Alpheus, the dread voice is past that shrunk thy streams. Return, Sicilian muse, and call the whales and bid them hither cast their bells and flowrets of 1,000 hues. So now the poet is again invoking the muses. He asks the Sicilian muses to come over. Why the Sicilian muses? The pastoral elegy was invented by a Sicilian poet, Theocritus. So he's invoking the Sicilian muses to come over. He also calls up the river Alpheus to come over and asks the flowers to bloom all over the valleys. Ye valleys low, were the mild whispers used of shades and wanton winds and gushing brooks, on whose fresh lap the soft star sparely looks, throw hither all your quaint enamelled eyes, that on the green turf suck the honeyed showers, and purple all the ground with vernal flowers. So he addresses, first of all, he addresses the valleys, the use of the poetic device apostrophe. So he addresses the valleys. What kind of valleys? Valleys with mild whispers. Mild whispers, the rustling sound of the leaves and stuff. So the valleys with mild whispers of shades and abandoned winds and gushing brooks, valleys with shady trees, winds and brooks, small rivers, whose fresh lap the swart star sparely looks. Throw hither all your quaint enamelled eyes, that on the green turf suck the honeyed showers and purple all the ground with vernal flowers. The sword star or the swarthy star refers to star Sirius. Swart means dark complexioned, something that is dark in color. So this dark star, the hottest star out there, is the star Sirius. It is so hot that it causes infertility. But this valley is spared from the looks of Sirius. It is not infected by the looks of Sirius. So it can definitely bear a lot of fruits and flowers. So it asks the valley to bloom a lot of flowers. Bring the wreath primrose that forsaken dies, the tuft crowtow and pale jasmine, the white wing and pansy freaked with jet, the glowing violet, the musk rose, and the well-attired woodbine, with cow's lips wan that hang the pensive head, and every flower that sad embroidery wears. So he is going on asking the valley to bloom certain kind of flowers. See the wreath, the curious primrose, bloom the primrose flower. The tuft crowtow refers to the hyacinth flower. Pale jasmines. So let all these flowers bloom in your valley. White, pink and the pansy. Pink and the pansy means other flowers. So let all the flowers bloom around you. The glowing violet, freaked with jet. So freaked with jet means they are all covered with a shade of black, which means they are definitely mourning the death of Lycidas. So blooming of flowers is usually considered as a happy scene, but here the flowers are blooming with grief for the death of Lycidas. The glowing violet flower, the musk rose, and the well-attired woodbine. So they are all blooming, but what's the trouble here? The cow's lips wan that hang with pensive head, and every flower that sad embroidery wears. Whatever flower that is being bloomed, they are being covered. They are all in despair. They are covered in the embroidery of sadness, grief for the death of Lycidas. Bid Amaranthus all his beauty shed, and daffodils fill their cups with tears to strew the laureate curse where Lycid lies. See, even the speaker wants the flowers to be sad. He wants the flowers to mourn the death of Lycidas. He asks amaranthus flowers to shed all its beauty. He asks daffodils to fill themselves with tears. And they are supposed to carve the laureate hearse where Lycid lies. So they are supposed to carve. He is going to strew them. He is going to cover the coffin of Lycidas with these flowers. So since he was a poet, his coffin is going to be engraved with laurels. Praises for his work. For so to interpose a little is, let our frail thoughts dally with false surmise. So when he thinks about decorating the coffin of Lycidas, he feels some solace. He feels some relief. Even though they have not yet retrieved the dead body of Lycidas from the sea, from the ocean, thinking of giving him a proper burial gives a lot of relief to the poet, to the speaker. Let's continue with the poem. Ay, me, whilst he the shores of sounding seas wash far away wherever thy bones are hurled, whether beyond the stormy Hebrides, where thou perhaps under the whelming tide visits the bottom of the monstrous world, or whether thou, to our moist vows denied, sleepest by the fable of Bellerus Sound, where the great vision of the garden mount looks toward Namencos and Byrna's hold. Look homeward, angel, now, and melt with ruth, and oh, ye dolphins, waft the hapless youth. So till now the poet appeared to be too hopeless with the death of Lycidas. So now we see a hint of hope in his mind. What does he say? Ay me, whilst the shores and sounding seas wash far away wherever thy bonds are hurled. While I say all this, you might be getting washed away by the seas to new depths. But even then, I hope that whether beyond the stormy Hebrides, where thou perhaps under the whelming tide visits the bottom of the monstrous world, or whether thou to our moist vows denied, sleepest by the fable of Belarus old, where the great vision of the guarded mount looks toward Namanco's and Bayana's fold. Look homeward, angel, now, and melt with ruth, and oh, ye dolphins, waft the hapless youth. Even if you get washed away beyond the Hebrides is a group of islands in Scotland. Even if you go beyond Scotland, even if you visit the monstrous world that is under the ocean surface, or whether thou to our moist vows denied sleepest by the fable of Belarus old. Even if you are taken to the end of the world, Bellarium is considered as the end of the land. So even if you are taken there, denying our moist vows, despite our pleas and cries, if you are taken to the end of the world, even then please look back to your homeland. Please have a look at England, which is still a Protestant country. Stop looking at Namancos and Bayonas. Namancos and Bayonas are places in Spain, which is a Catholic country. So please stop looking at Spain, look back to England. And oh, ye dolphins, waft the hapless youth. So I really hope that the dolphins, they accompany you in your way back to your homeland. So dolphins are considered as a good omen by the sailors. Weep no more, woeful shepherds, weep no more, for Lycidas your sorrow is not dead, sung though he be beneath the watery floor. So the speaker has become fully confident that even though his friend has drowned in the ocean, he has definitely not died. He asks his fellow shepherds to stop crying, stop mourning for the death of Lycidas. So sings the day star in the ocean bed, and yet Anon repairs his drooping head and tricks his beams, and with new spangled orb flames in the forehead of the morning sky. Here the poet uses the metaphor of the day star. Day star refers to the sun. So every evening sun drowns in the ocean. But the next day it repairs. Repair means to reappear in the horizon. It rejuvenates itself. It comes with a replenished energy in the morning. So similarly, Lycidas has taken a dip in the sea. He is definitely going to rise above us. So Lycidas sung low, but mounted high, through the dear might of him that walked the waves, where other groves and other streams along with nectar pure his oozy locks he laves. So in the beginning, when we discussed the conventions of pastoral elegy, we read that at the end of a pastoral elegy, there comes a consolation. So the speaker is consoling himself, thinking that even though Lycidas died in this world, he has definitely risen in his afterlife. He is taken to the heaven with the power of the dear might of him that walked on waves. With the power of Jesus Christ, he is definitely taken to heaven. And what he might be doing now, where other groves and other streams along with nectar pure his oozy locks he laves. See, since he took a dip in the sea, his locks, his hair might be greasy with all the slime from the water. So he might be washing his locks, washing his hair with the nectar of heaven. So he might be having a good time there. And here's the unexpressive nuptial song, and in the blessed kingdoms meek of joy and love. So he might be listening to the nymphs singing about wedding and wedding nights. So he might be having a good time in the kingdom of heaven. There entertain him all the saints above, to solemn troops and sweet societies that sing, singing in their glory move, and wipe the tears forever from his eyes. So the saints out there in the heaven might be singing to him and entertaining him, and they might be wiping away the tears of his eyes. Now, Lycidas, the shepherds weep no more. Henceforth, thou art the genius of the show. In thy large recompense and shall be good to all that wander in the perilous flood. So he is addressing the dead. He is addressing Lycidas. Lycidas, you are no more dead to us. And the shepherds have stopped mourning for your death. Now you have risen to the status of a patron saint of the seas. So whoever sails in the sea is going to pray to you to take care of them during perilous flood, during difficult journeys. We are coming towards the conclusion of the poem. Thus sang the uncouth swain to the oxen rills, while the still morn went out with sandals grey. He touched the tender stops of various quills, with eager thought warbling his Doric lay. So this pastoral elegy is sung by the uncouth swain. Uncouth means the unknown swain, lover to the oaks and rills, oak trees and rills, small rivers. He sang the song in the woods. While the still morn went out with sandals grey. He started the song at the beginning of a morning. He touched the tender stops of various quills. He sang the song using handmade instruments, with eager thought warbling his Doric lay. With eager mind, he sang his pastoral song. Doric refers to a dialect of Greek language used in pastoral poems. And now the sun had stretched out all the hills and now has dropped from the western bay. At last he rose and twitched his mantle blue. Tomorrow to fresh woods and pastures new. So by the evening he stopped singing and he decided that tomorrow is going to be a fresh day and he is going to come to the pasture with renewed energy. So as we saw, Lycidas is a pastoral elegy written in 1637, published in 1638, dedicated to the poet and friend of Milton, Edward King, who was drowned in the Irish seas. He is portrayed as a shepherd named Lycidas in the poem. But it is not a simple pastoral elegy. It is actually a critique of the corrupt clergy and the corrupt society of the 17th century England. The use of mythical characters from classical poetry and the use of Christian imageries, biblical characters like St. Peter makes the poem unique. So I hope you found this discussion enjoyable. Please stay tuned for more videos with us. Thank you so much. Take care.